Gensokyo is one of the most beautiful places you could ever imagine, filled with lush forests, rolling hills, and magical landscapes, but it's also one of the most dangerous. Wouldn't believe the kind of bizarre, powerful, and sometimes downright twisted yokai and spirits that roam the mountains, rivers, and forests. The Hakurei Barrier does an excellent job of keeping the delicate balance between the human world and the yokai world, but it can't handle everything, especially incidents that happen within Gensokyo itself. Occasionally, conflicts escalate or supernatural beings act in ways that threaten the fragile balance. That's where someone truly reliable is needed. Someone capable of handling powerful beings, mediating disputes, and resolving threats before they destroy the balance. That someone is a shrine maiden at the Hakurei Shrine, Reimu, whose skills, intuition, and spiritual power make her a vital part of Gensokyo's safety and the first line of defense whenever the barrier or a natural order is tested. As a shrine maiden of Hakurei, Reimu comes equipped with many abilities that help her keep the peace in Gensokyo in the real world. One of her core roles is being trained to deal with yokai and other spirits, which means she knows how to sense their presence, purify, defeat, and perform blessings and exorcisms. Part of this comes from her use of sacred spiritual tools like the Hakurei yin-yang orbs or the Ofida paper charms, which she can throw, summon, or use to create magical projectiles and seals that are especially effective against yokai, as well as build protective fields or barriers around herself and others. These barriers can block attacks, trap enemies, or even act as ways to attack by opening and closing at strategic points. Reimu also carries a gohei, a purification rod, a traditional Shinto implement that she uses both in ritual purification and as a close-range tool in combat. Because the shrine she protects sits on the boundary between Gensokyo and the real world, she has an innate connection to the spiritual forces and gods of her land. And while she hasn't practiced enough to call on divine power or precision, the potential is there for her to channel and invoke deities during intense conflicts. Some sources even describe her as having the ability to manipulate aura like spiritual energy, though this isn't always shown explicitly.
Float into Terry's 5 and 10 for all your party supplies. We've got Mylar balloons for all occasions, especially birthday and the dreaded over the hill. Save $1 on a balloon bouquet. If you think I'm full of hot air about our low prices on balloons and party supplies, you're wrong. I'm full of helium.
Reimu has the ability to float, but on first listen, that kinda sounds incredibly basic. I mean, the ability to fly is a pretty common power among the inhabitants of Gensokyo. But hold on, her ability to float isn't the same as the ability to fly. Flying is the act of moving through the air itself. Floating is something far more abstract. You see, Reimu doesn't overcome obstacles by speed, technique, or raw power. Instead, she exists in a way where the world itself offers her the easiest possible outcome without her consciously trying to make it happen. She has an almost unfair level of intuition and luck, not because she's constantly thinking ahead or making perfect decisions, but because circumstances naturally line up so that trouble never quite reaches her in the first place. When attacks are aimed at her, it can look like she's dodging effortlessly, or attacks are barely missing her, as if she was made out of the air itself. Yet, from her own perspective, nothing dramatic is happening at all. The attacks simply don't go where she is, as if reality gently nudges it aside. This same principle applies to everyday situations as well, such as when Reimu crosses a river by walking straight over the water. Fish just happen to surface beneath her feet at the exact moment she steps forward, forming solid footing without her consciously noticing anything strange. The key is that Reimu isn't actively manipulating the world, she's barely engaging with it. It seems like the more she doesn't pay attention to her surroundings, the more she doesn't put in effort, or the more chill or relaxed she is, the more powerful this ability becomes. In small instances, this ability can improve her overall performance in combat and tasks. In large instances, she can avoid almost fatal attacks miraculously. She's quite literally going with the flow, floating through her own world, unbothered by anyone or anything else, entering a state where she drifts so far from ordinary reality that hostile actions can no longer interact with her at all. However, the ability can cease to function when Reimu actively puts in effort in her abilities or is fully aware or alert of her surroundings, and practice this ability would show itself in countless subtle ways across both combat and everyday life, without Reimu even realizing it's happening. An enemy might fire a perfectly timed projectile, only for the angle to be slightly off so the attack bends away from her. A sword swing might be mistimed, or debris knocked loose by a battlefield could block an incoming strike at the exact moment it would have connected. Outside of combat, the same principle applies in quieter ways. She may leave home late, but still arrive at her destination exactly on time. Or she could wander into a dangerous area and coincidentally find that the threats moved on moments earlier. If she were about to fall from a height, something would simply be there to break her fall. A ledge, a branch, a passing platform, without her consciously looking for it. This makes her ability feel like the reverse of Milo Murphy's Law, or Wonder View. Except, instead of unavoidable misfortune spiraling towards her, reality produces a chain of small, fortunate coincidences that quietly stack in her favor, ensuring that outcomes resolve safely and efficiently around her. The reason this power is considered so absurdly strong is that there's no clear point of attack or counter. You can't outskill, overpower, or even reliably target someone when the world itself keeps smoothing over danger before it becomes real. Because of that, this ability was later turned into a spell card, with a defined name and time limit. Battles in Gensokyo require a structure and fairness. Turning it into a spell card was essentially a self-imposed nerf, forcing an otherwise constant and passive advantage into a temporary state, so opponents could actually interact with her at all. Even though Reimu often comes across as laid back and unmotivated, she has repeatedly stood against some of the most overwhelmingly powerful beings in Gensokyo, and still comes out on top, despite the odds. I mean, sometimes. Over the course of various incidents, she has confronted ancient yokai like Yukari Yakumo, whose power over boundaries puts her on a near godlike level, and Yuyuko, a death-aligned ghost princess capable of killing beings at will. She has challenged true gods like Kaneko Yasaka, lunar elites like Irene Yagakoro, and the immortal Kaguya. What makes these encounters remarkable isn't that Reimu overpowers them directly, but that she survives, adapts, and resolves incidents against beings who on paper should be far beyond a single Shrine maiden can handle.